the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour, with your hosts, Joe Bond and AJ Applegarth.
Touchdown!
All right. Welcome to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, my co-host and arch nemesis of the night, Go Commanders,
Boo.
is Mr. AJ Applegarth. What is going on, man?
Not much. Just trying to turn this down a little bit so you can hear my lovely voice instead of the Eagles freaking sucking right now.
What's going on, Albert? Glad to have you here. All right, so tonight we're going to be getting you ready for Week 11 of the fantasy football season. Before we jump into that, though, I just want to remind everybody, hit that like button, that subscribe button, and hit that little bell to remind you that we're coming on. And if you're listening, subscribe, follow, whatever it is on whatever platform you're listening to. We appreciate it. And, of course, our all-access memberships are still available. You can go over to fantasysixpack.net/plans and get access to everything we've got there behind the paywall. We've got our award-winning rankings. We've got 3 people inside the top 20 so right now in the year. And then, excuse me. And, of course, we got all the DFS content from Dave Eddy and Keith Fleming and Chris Robin, and then all the betting stuff from the parlay guys and Mike Tomlin, and then some. And then, of course, we've got our Discord as well, where you can jump in even if you're not a member, but we do have premium channels where you can get direct access to us, and we'll answer all your questions in there. So go over there and use promo code F6P NFL 24 to save 15%. All right, man. So let's do it. Let's bring in our guest here. And got Mr. Justin Bruni, writer for Fantasy Six Pack, at least during the summer months, doing some best ball work for us. Glad to have you here, man. What's going on?
Feeling good. Thanks for having me in, sir. Happy Week 11 to you, gentlemen. Get in between the bit of the feud here. Not very exciting game so far. Guys are holding your clutches tight here. Hoping for some more offense in the second half.
Yeah, it's been pretty.
Yeah, it's been really good if you're a punter. That's for sure. So
you guys in many punter fantasy leagues?
Well, there are the eliminators, which I actually got eliminated in last week because my team put up an absolute dud.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh! Thanks.
Your team
put up 77 points or whatever. Wow, that was bad.
That's all right. I might be bowing out this week right behind you with a couple of bigger names on bye, but
yeah,
we'll see.
So, but yeah, they have punters in that one too. So the Scott Fishbowl eliminators, they're pretty fun. But yeah, so we're gonna start off here. Of course, we got our normal start sit, kind of rankings preview here. But I want to get started with talking about kind of, the only real news that came out this week, and it's Anthony Richardson getting the starting job back. I mean, what do we think about this? Justin, what do you think? Good, NFL standpoint or fantasy standpoint, whichever direction you want to go in. What's your thoughts about this?
I mean, the first reaction was just oh, well, that's kind of funny. I mean, there's just really no confidence in the building on, really what direction they want to go in. To me, when they were starting Richardson, I had the feeling of okay, we're going to, let him go until, maybe the wheels fall off. And his last 2 starts where he had back-to-back games with just 10 completions, I think fit the build for that narrative. Okay, we handed off to Flacco and we realize it's not as good as we would have hoped. We're not the Browns from last year. Amari Cooper's not walking through that door. So, we got to figure some things out. And it feels like they might just be tapping out, because my whole opinion is the switch to Flacco is if you want to be serious about winning now, he should be your starter. The weapons in the offense look a lot better. I'm certainly more excited about firing up Josh Downs when Joe Flacco's under center, when Michael Pittman has Joe Flacco under center. I mean, maybe not so much Jonathan Taylor. I'd say he's a big winner of Richardson becoming a starter again. But you know what I mean? Like it still felt like he was going to be the guy that would be giving them the better shot to win. And now it just feels like, hey, we're going to go back to just developing the kid so long on this season. That's what it feels like to me. Also, the Jets may be a good spot to bring him back. Their defense has been bad the past couple of weeks. Maybe that's what that is.
Yeah.
They really want to squeak out a win, and the Jets may have been scheming for Flacco, and now they can just turn a 180 and put in Richardson, and for all we know, Flacco could be in at halftime.
Yeah.
AJ, what do you got with this?
Justin, I hope you're seeing Mr. Robbins' post there. So
my guy, appreciate you. Hope Beastie's doing well. One cat owner to another.
Yeah. So you pretty much hit it all on the head there. I do like this matchup against the Jets. The Jets coming in here.
Mm-hmm.
They've been giving up decent amount of points, like you were saying, the past few weeks. Last week against Kyler had the best game, for a quarterback at this point. Pittsburgh a few weeks back in week 7, another 2 touchdowns, 264 yards. The yardage isn't crazy, but that'd be crazy for AR. I feel like, he's not known for really throwing the ball much. He is the hybrid running quarterback. So, as a Flacco owner, for the past really month and a half, I guess I never really dropped him in a couple of leagues because I figured, he's going to play, and it was only a matter of time. So it kind of sucks to see him kind of falter a little bit, especially when he kind of came out really hot. I do feel like I kind of alluded to that a few weeks back, that the same thing kind of happened with Cleveland last year, where he came out, he was really, really good, on the top of his game, and carried them in, carried playoff fantasy teams into the playoffs. And then he just kind of fell off. A lot of that was with Amari being injured too. So as a Downs owner, I benched him this week because I just don't. Yeah. I don't trust it. I want to see what he does before I can really have faith in him again, as a possible flex play or third receiver, in that league that I'm talking about at least. But
with Flacco under center, Downs was getting at one stretch 63% of the target share. It was
amazing. He would have had an amazing week last week, but he dropped that walk-in touchdown.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm not excited about anybody on the Colts offense outside of Jonathan Taylor. And even that sort of gets, he hasn't been awesome either, but you can't trust any of the pass catchers, and you can't trust Anthony Richardson. Look, I've said it many times on the show. When your quarterback is completing 44% of his passes, I don't care how good of a runner he is, the offense is not going to stay on the field.
Do we know if Michael Pittman's going to be healthy this week? Is there any update on him?
He was questionable earlier today.
Okay.
I have not gotten any
Mr. Death Shirts.
Yeah.
Jamie's over here asking, what about the Colts kicker?
Maybe.
That guy is not a bad play this week, honestly.
An early trend to throw out when Pittman is healthy, when he's playing, and Richardson is under center, he's typically getting an over-under total anywhere from 46 to 52.5 receiving yards. He's only hit it one time in any Richardson start. Smash under.
Yeah. Seems like a good bet for me. So, yeah, again, kind of fade the Colts this week wherever you can. Probably starting JT, but that's really it. And I know. People are gonna probably pick up Richardson just to have him stash. If you're if you're one of those guys rolling out with Darnold, which is me in one league, but I'm fine with Darnold, honestly. I actually dropped Richardson in one. So
there's some leagues right now where it's kind of that time. If you're at the bottom of the stack and it's like a keeper league, like I just picked up Brandon Ayuk in a keeper league, like I'm not looking great. I think I'm like in like 9th or 10th place. It's probably not going to happen. So I was like, oh, look, Brandon Ayuk's available. I'll just go scoop him up. It's not like I'm going anywhere.
It's not a bad idea. I like doing
that's
that.
interesting.
It's that time of the year, you're starting to kind of take a peek, like, am I a contender? Am I a pretender? And if you're real with yourself, you might be able to make.
Because when you said keeper, I'm thinking dynasty. I'm like, who's dropping Ayuk in?
No, like a keeper league. Where
keeper
you get
leagues are different. I get
like two or three guys or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know why. When you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But no, maybe
that would be awesome.
I'm not used to keeper leagues anymore. Like, that's kind of
it's a wrinkle of redraft.
It is.
It's a semi.
No, I like them. I just you don't hear about them very often.
Yeah, it's one of my OG leagues. It's one goes way back.
All good. All right, man. Well, let's get into our start sit kind of rankings review for the week. Oh, actually, it looks like we got some start sit questions from the crowd. So let's get on these before we jump into the ones that Mike LaPlante has ready for us. From Dollar Bill on Twitter or on YouTube, sorry. Sup, boys? Start Anthony Richardson or Caleb. I know Caleb's been bad, but I can't do it with it. Anthony Richardson. I just can't.
So offensive coordinator Thomas Brown now in for Shane Waldron.
Yeah.
The mindset here is to get the ball out of Caleb's hands quickly and into the hands of playmakers. And I think that's alluding to a question that we're going to cover. I think DeAndre Swift, I think DJ Moore, and specifically big asterisk next to this name, Keenan Allen this week. Just the tone of the conversation that I got from Thomas Brown was, they were a bit fed up that the ball wasn't getting to the playmakers enough. And when they said playmakers, in my head, just Keenan Allen was just like buzzing. It was just like a key word for me. I'm expecting a big Keenan Allen week. He's had some weeks where he's had 8, 9, 10 targets. I'm expecting Caleb to have an average week, if not maybe a little bit better than average. It should be a clear pick over A-Rich. Like I mentioned, when he was healthy, those last 2 starts, 10 completions and back-to-back games. It's not enough to rely on.
Yeah, and I mean, look, Caleb. I mean, he had a couple game stretch there where everybody was like,
"Yeah,
I mean, maybe this will work." And then they had the bye week and they forgot how to play football. Who knows?
Tillman, we're suffering from that Hail Mary. It was tough. I mean, they literally brought it up there. I know. Believe me. Boots on the ground here.
Love it.
I've been hearing it all 14 days now. Okay.
All right. Tillman or BYJ? Is that supposed
he meant Brian Thomas Jr.
That's supposed to be BTJ. It's Tillman. I can't do Brian Thomas Jr. with
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones is the quarterback. It just isn't going to work. So give me Tillman. He's seen a ton of volume, so he's pretty safe in a full PPR.
Cosign.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Albert said.
Got Albert here. Pittman logged to full practice today, so there we go.
Nice.
Cool. Get healthy.
Do we have anything else? Here we go. Jason Ortiz over on YouTube. Will you trade Pittman, Wandale Robinson, Madison, or Estime for Jake Ferguson? Oh, and
Estime.
Jake Ferguson for Rico, Dowdle, Kate Otten, and BTJ. So
I like Kate Otten the most out of any of those players right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says it's a 4 for 3.
I mean,
I don't think.
Yes, especially with news. And look, I know I don't love the Dallas offense going forward, but especially with news that just came out like an hour or two before the show went live, that Dallas has said they're going to give Rico Dowdle like all the carries. Like it's his backfield now.
Yeah.
They're no longer going to try to like make Zeke a thing anymore, and Cook is definitely not a thing. So this is Rico's backfield. So I like it. I like it. I know I don't love BTJ, but whatever.
Yeah, but I don't expect Lawrence to be out long term.
Dude, they're saying he might not come back this year.
That's what I was.
Really?
Yeah, end of year.
Yeah,
for him.
I've been.
Man.
It's kind of a
No,
lost year
it's
for
brutal
him.
out here. I mean, the streets are filled with blood. It's getting a bit much. I mean, I like everything about Rico, like that situation now. My only problem is just like, you get a lot of touches, but are they valuable touches in that offense? Like
Fair.
we're going to see
That's
a little
fair.
bit more from Cooper Rush, hopefully. I certainly hope like there's no continued like back and forth experiment. That's like we've seen Cooper Rush be somewhat competent in the past. I would hope that's enough to just keep him on the field because I don't need to see Trey Lance out there giving me palpitations in the pulpit.
Yeah, I mean, I do think we're going to see more a better weeks from Cooper Rush. I mean, we saw it just a couple of years ago, man. Like he was okay. Like he was pretty solid for Dallas.
He was to keep like our fantasy players afloat. That's we weren't complaining then. We're complaining now for sure.
Yeah. So, all right. We got any more questions before we jump into ours?
Nope, just a congratulations.
That's true. Jamie loves to tune in for the D-Gen Dads show. We're killing it over there Friday nights on the old YouTube machine. So
nice.
Come check us out. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate you, Jamie.
And also, because your kicker rankings, Joe.
Hey, kickers matter. Kickers matter, bro. Print the shirts. You're practically printing them right now.
Me and Keith Lott, number 1 and number 2 in rankings. We got the kicker rankings locked down here at a Fantasy Six Pack.
I love it.
Awesome.
Got the market cornered. Like I said, T-shirts printing themselves. Get after it. Kickers matter too.
Get Casey on that.
Kick the competition.
Yes.
With Fantasy Six Pack.
That's very Cobra Kai, but I love it.
If we actually like it.
True.
If we do actually finish number 1 and number 2, we will make it happen.
Just take the karate guy and turn him sideways so his foot put a football down there. You got
that would be amazing.
This is not plagiarized at all.
Probably make that on Canva in like 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure.
Probably could. Could.
Priority order them to your front door a couple of days. No problem.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we are good to go. Ready to rock. Jump into things here. Let me get the slides ready on time this time for the first time in a while. We good? Move everything else.
No, we're good.
All right.
All right, Joe, you can start it off.
God.
Justin, hopefully you'll get the hang of things here, but basically when you got 2 players you're deciding between, you start 1, sit 1. When you got 3 players, you're starting 2, sitting 1.
Got you. Perfect.
All right, Joe, you start us off. You get Jordan Love against the Bears this week or Jared Goff versus the Jaguars? Who you want? Also, hit the slide button.
Yeah, I'm typing.
Not to be confused with the like button.
Yeah, this was pretty close here. I actually lean Jared Goff, man. He's been like sneaky good. Like you look at the box score, they're not throwing the ball a lot. Of course they did last week because he threw 5 interceptions, not helping himself. But even though he's not throwing the ball a lot, like he's completing almost every single pass he throws, throwing multiple touchdowns. It's hard to go away from that. And excuse me, Love gets Chicago. That defense is pretty legit. And we know Jacksonville is pretty much a cakewalk for passing offenses here. So yeah, let me fire up.
Except Sam Darnold last week.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I lost to AJ with Sam Darnold. First time I've lost to AJ in like 6 years. I feel like pretty pissed.
Awesome, AJ. Does that mean you're
6 years?
Does that mean you're going to pick the same player? Because you're next. Who you starting? Who you sitting?
Could be pretty close, AJ. You sure about that?
Yes, I am sure about that. Might be like
All
4.
Right. So much better.
Yeah.
Whose calendar's correct?
Yes. I don't know. Mine's still stuck on 2020. So,
God, what's wrong with you?
Nothing. My calendar got COVID and just never recovered.
Dang. You guys need the kick drum for that.
That was such a dad joke, AJ.
I don't really like Jordan Love at Chicago either. I think I am going to go Goff. Jacksonville is just basically where players go to shine as far as the opponent's team. So, he's super consistent with his percentage. He doesn't rack up a ton of yards, but he's got so many playmakers around him. This is still a run first offense, but he gets what he needs to on the field. Love's been good this year, but he's kind of been up and down. And again, matchup wise, I don't really like it for him. I'm going with Goff.
Yeah, it's a clean sweep here. To me, this one's not even close. Goff has a super juicy matchup. The Jaguars are allowing the third most fantasy points per game to the quarterback position. The Bears are allowing the second fewest. When you were mentioning Jordan Love going up and down this season, all I was thinking about him was going up and down off of his back. They're not doing enough to protect him. I feel like he's been like this close to two season-ending injuries, multiple times this season. They're not doing enough for him. It's a division game. The Bears are hungry. They got rid of Waldron. Hopefully that better vibes in the locker room overall, for the whole cast of characters there, because it's pretty big mess. I got to imagine they want to overcorrect this week. So I don't think it's a good spot for Jordan Love. Jared Goff coming off that week where he did throw 5 interceptions, but got his team the win. In the locker room, you give that guy a bump the next week, keeping his chin up, being a champ, just going out there, just not losing your cool, throwing 5 picks, still winning us the game some way, somehow. That guy gets a couple of knucks and probably throws 3 touchdowns the following week. So I'm definitely chasing Jared Goff here.
Oh, man. I mean, I get the good vibes here, but I don't know why they fired their coach before the Packers game, because the Bears haven't beat the Packers in the last 10 games. So, I mean, you could have just used it as a scapegoat this week, honestly. But we'll move.
They already had it. They already had it.
About 5 weeks late, so I mean, it's
that's fair. I'm just saying it's hard to see it, but regression to the mean. If you haven't won the last 10 games, maybe you win it this time. AJ, you get a tougher one. You want Justin Herbert versus the Bengals or Patrick Mahomes versus the Bills? Fight.
I am taking the quarterback from the AFC West that is playing the AFC North. I'm going with Herbert. Joe and I just saw Cincy, Joe Burrow, eat up Baltimore, which is easy enough to do. But Lamar had plenty of his own chances in that game as well against Cincy. Plenty of other teams this year have gone up against Cincy's D and been successful, from the quarterback's standpoint. I just think the matchup's better. Mahomes, I hope to God this is the game that they finally lose, because I'm just sick of them pulling out these games. They should have lost last week to Denver. They should have lost a couple other games earlier in the season, but I don't want to say it's all on the refs. Some of it is probably, but Buffalo is quite possibly the best team in the AFC, regardless of Mahomes' record. I still think Buffalo is going to be tough, really tough matchup for him in Buffalo. So give me Herbert.
All right, Justin. Who you want to sit? Who you want to start?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree here. I'm gonna sit Patrick Mahomes, and I think it's just because of the matchup overall. I think it's just a tighter game. The way that you can easily leverage your offense against the Bills is on the ground. I think it's a much better day to start start Hunt. Maybe if you're in a really deep situation, you start Samaje Perine if you got a lot of guys on bye, because I'm expecting those players to have pivotal roles this week. I'm also really not that interested in starting Hopkins if I have some depth. I mean, again, a situation where it's going to be roster dependent, but I think that's just a matchup where the Chiefs, no matter what, want to come out without a win. As again, someone that does a lot of prop betting, Patrick Mahomes, that passing touchdown number has been sitting at 1.5 week after week after week, paying plus money. This is not the week to take the over on that. I would be fading him against Justin Herbert, who you'd mentioned, gets the Bengals this week. Their offense also just puts their defense in a bad situation. The Bengals, right? Like their game flow, Joe Burrow hitting a home run every other play. Not so great for your linebackers huffing and puffing on the sidelines. All right, get back out there, fellas. Obviously doesn't create the best game environment. Cool stuff for us. That's awesome. But there is, some consequences to that. And their offense, if it gets like that this week, and that's the type of game that they're playing, it could be a very good situation for Justin Herbert. My only pause at him is obviously the run game is a priority there, right? Like they've been very committed to it. You've got Edwards coming back. He had 10 touches last week. Dobbins still had like 15. So they're very much interested in putting the ball on the ground. But we've seen Ladd make his big splash plays. Obviously, Quentin Johnston still somehow keeping himself relevant. It's absolutely crazy. And I'm still waiting for a massive Jordan Palmer breakout.
Yeah, I think we're past that one. Unfortunately,
I'm gonna
all right.
I'm gonna keep.
I hope you're right, but I'm not. Yeah, I'm not holding my breath. But no, clean sweep here, Herbert. His matchup and just the fact that Patrick Mahomes really he hasn't needed to do a whole lot. He had the one game where he was a QB1, where was the one where D-Hop just kind of went off. It's just not there. Like they're relying on the defense, they're relying on the run game, and that's what they can get away with. I've said this all the time here on the show. So Herbert, it's where Justin, you're totally right. The volume is not there. The matchup is heavily in his favor here. Like all the metrics, DVOA, adjusted points for, all heavily in favor of Justin Herbert in this matchup here. The Bills are pretty tough. I'm going to kind of piggyback on what you were talking about with the Bengals offense. I'm knocking them down a little peg this week because this Chargers defense is phenomenal. So I don't know if Burrow and Chase and company are going to just be steamrolling through the defense like we've kind of seen.
Chase Brown, another Chase to bring into that because they're the best at is stopping the run. They're the best in the league. Right, I think right behind the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are number one.
Yes, the Chiefs are number one, I believe.
But it's the Chargers are right there too.
Yeah,
yep.
But it's
have allowed 2 rushing touchdowns on the year through 10 games.
Yeah, so it's gonna be tough sledding for the Cincy offense as well.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, you're starting those guys. You just kind of hope the talent wins out here, and they're gonna score points. They're not gonna get held. I think something crazy like the Chargers had only allowed like 13 points, like almost all season. I think they finally got beat last week in that one, but it wasn't by much. So it's going to be tough for that, but it is Herbert in this one.
All right, let's move on to the running backs then. Justin, you get to kick us off here in a triple threat. You got DeAndre Swift versus the Packers, Najee Harris versus the Ravens, and Nick Chubb versus the Saints. Fight.
The trend would say to sit Najee just because of how good the Ravens are against the run. I mean, they're terrible up against the pass. Maybe that means this is a week that Najee can get 5 or 6 catches. But I think my gut's leaning to start DeAndre Swift and Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, there's not been enough there to pass the eye test, but he's coming off the bye. He gets the Saints, who have been putrid up against the run the last 4 weeks. I'm going to trust those two here to find the end zone, and that's my tiebreaker. I think with how good the defensive line and the pushback from the Ravens is up front right now, plus you got Najee coming in a little bit questionable, never missed a start in his career, knocking on wood, but he is coming a little bit banged up. I'm going to go with Swift and Chubb here. Again, tiebreakers that those two are going to find the end zone. Najee could have 50 rushing, 20 receiving, but no pay dirt.
All right, Joe, what you got?
I completely agree. it's weird to say you want to start Chubb because he hadn't done anything. But yeah, I don't really want to face the Baltimore front. They can shut pretty much anybody down. And in a game where you're looking to beat them you can beat them in the passing game, this feels like a Jaylen Warren week. Right? So maybe that's what we get. So I'm kind of off Harris this week.
Last week. He did fumble the ball to one.
Yeah.
Keynote. I don't know if that means he's in the doghouse or not. I don't know that locker room, but if you've got a read on that situation and you know how that's going to play out, then use that as you will. But Mike Tomlin fumbling at the one, I don't know. Doesn't feel like something he's going to get jazzed up about. Just saying.
Probably not. We'll see.
But he would definitely be needed. Another key trend that I target every week is the under on the longest rush for the leading running back against the Ravens. It's just smashing.
Interesting. All right.
AJ?
Yeah, I was like misreading this at first, and I was like, "Why? What's going on here?" Because I was thinking Estime was in this one. We'll talk about him next, but yeah, I agree. I mean, Chase Brown had a nice game against the Ravens last week, but that was because of the passing. Right. His involvement in the passing game. He did crash into the end zone for a touchdown, but only 42 yards on the ground. Baltimore is still stout there, so I think I'm going to lean the same way and go Swift and Chubb. Chubb's an absolute smash. New Orleans sucks against the run. I mean, they're straight garbage. So Swift is who I'm looking at. He's kind of been involved. Yeah, he's like inconsistent in the passing game. But
when they use him in the passing game, he's super productive.
He is. Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Game log, it's literally if he gets a target or a few targets, he's going to produce well.
Yeah,
I think he's like top 8 for receiving yards per reception for a running back.
Yeah, he's been putting up nice yardage totals there. Hasn't found the end zone yet, so maybe that changes this week. He gets a receiving touchdown, but he's definitely getting the majority of the carries there. So yeah, Queen sleep.
Before the show started, we were talking about Austin Eckler's receiving yards. DeAndre Swift is in the same category. He just goes completely under the radar with the sports books. Despite the numbers, if you have his game log up, he's getting like 15 to 17. So literally any game where he gets at least one catch, he's clearing that.
Yeah.
The only games he hasn't gotten it are the games where they didn't give him a single target. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's got 2 games, zero targets, or 0 receptions, 0 yards, obviously. Last week was 1 for 6.
Okay, so last week
you got a 6 for 31 against Arizona in week 9. You got a 7 for 72 against the Rams back in week 4. Everything's over 20 yards, on 2 catches. So he's definitely, hitting that prop. So it's a good call.
All right.
Let's go next.
So full disclosure, before I made this question, this was before the Rico Dowdle news. So you guys get a freebie on this one. Joe, you get Audric Estime versus the Falcons, Travis Etienne against the Lions, or Rico Dowdle versus the Texans. Fight.
Yeah, so Dowdle goes in. We're gonna have to wait for Bigsby, update here. But if Bigsby is out, you go Etienne. If Bigsby is in, I guess you go Estime. Like they're close enough to where I kind of think Estime would kind of leap over him here, but yeah, man, this is rough sledding here. So good luck with these 3. Like there's not a whole lot to really take here. These guys aren't gonna be great really at all. Like, Dowdle gets Houston. not a great matchup, but if he's getting the volume and he is, that's great. Estime gets Atlanta, kind of middle of the road here with that one. Look, I don't know if I'm going to fully believe that he's going to get 14 carries to 1 for Javonte Williams. That could have just been like a weird week. But if you want to believe that, then he's absolutely the guy you go after just for pure volume, because Etienne has looked bad. The Jags have looked bad. So, I mean, maybe just because of saying that, I'm kind of talking myself as an Estime and Dowdle, but neither one really excite me here.
AJ?
Yeah. Like the only silver lining, feasibility for Etienne is, like you said, Bigsby's questionable. Dearness Johnson's also questionable. So if neither of them is available, then obviously Etienne is going to be, volume. And we already know Mac Jones and the throwing side of things isn't really going to be great. Detroit has been good for the most part against opposing running backs, but they have given up some touchdowns on the year. They have 2 back-to-back, over 100-yard games against opposing running backs in Week 8 versus Tennessee and Week 9 versus Green Bay. So, there's a little bit there. I feel like I would trust Etienne a little bit more than Estime. So I'll go with him and Dowdle. Again, don't really love the matchup for Dowdle either. But, it's really pick your poison. So
I think if you're sitting with this issue, you're desperate, right? Like,
yes.
These 3 players on your roster signals to me you're in 6th or 7th place, like at best, right? I'm going with the upside play in Audric Estime. What I don't like about Travis Etienne,
hammered by weeks.
That as well. What I don't like about Travis Etienne is the fact that he's playing the Lions, and the Lions can drop 50 on them and park the bus and bury this game in the third quarter.
True.
I think that Mac Jones puts them in a bad game flow scenario where, Etienne might look good in the first quarter, maybe even halfway through the second while the Jags are still in it. But the second half of the second quarter and the beginning of the third, when the Lions, take it away, and Jamo and Amon-Ra are dropping bombs all over the yard, I don't trust him. Dowdle, I don't think is a safe play, because it's very similar to the Etienne scenario. But what I like about Dallas is that they have, I think, better offensive weapons. You still have
proof against both of us, Justin.
CeeDee Lamb there, Ferguson that can help out. I feel like the Jags are, they're missing too much. Like BTJ isn't what he is without Lawrence, right? Mm-hmm. Ingram was terrible. It's also not a good matchup for tight ends. If you're looking at Ingram and you have any other respectable options, he's a sit candidate for me this week. Not a good matchup for tight ends going against Detroit. So it may not sound pretty, but Estime might be a little uncertainty. You've got his projection here at 16 points. The algorithm is trusting him apparently at the network.
Yeah.
So I go Estime and Dowdle here. Again, you don't feel good about it, but you can't feel good about any 3 of these guys. So
it's rough. It's rough. We do have a question here from Dion over on Facebook. Just made a trade last night. Derrick Henry, CJ Stroud, Waddle for Kamara, Puka, and Mayfield. Whoever got Kamara, Puka, and Mayfield, I think that you're saying you got that side. Yes, congratulations. You made out like a bandit. Losing Derrick Henry blows, but Kamara is fine. Is a fine replacement, especially in full PPR. Puka is a massive upgrade to Waddle, and Mayfield is even an upgrade to Stroud, even without most of his pass catchers, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. You're definitely trading the 3 for 1 there. You might as well have traded Henry for the other 3, probably.
Yeah. Stroud and Mayfield are pretty interchangeable. Like I'm fine with either one.
No, I think you're right. I think Mayfield's better. I think he wins that side of it for sure.
Yeah, Stroud just hasn't looked great. He is getting Nico back. That's going to help, but it has, even with Nico there, he wasn't lighting it up. So Mayfield should be getting Evans back in a couple of weeks. That's going to help him massively. So
yeah, I mean the only downside is that you're basically still 2 bye weeks and 2 bye weeks. But the bigger bye week was week 14 for both Stroud and Henry on that opposite side.
Nice.
So
that's a nice. Well, yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
This way you're getting Mayfield, who's out this week, and then he'll be back next week with Evans, as all the signs are pointing, at least not definite, but they're leaning that way. And then next week you lose Kamara. So I like the deal too.
Jamie's over here asking us, would you give up AJ Brown for a 2025 mid to late first and a 2026 first? I'm assuming you're like complete, like you're in rebuild mode giving up AJ Brown.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you need to be.
And if that's the case, I would take the 2 firsts. That's a pretty solid return.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Because he did say super flex, so even mid to late first,
there's
you'll get nice receivers at that point in a super flex, because all the quarterbacks typically go much higher in the rookie draft there. So yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. All right, next up,
AJ receivers. You got Calvin Ridley versus the Vikings, Cedric Tillman versus the Saints, or Jayden Reed versus Chicago. Who you sitting? Who you starting?
Well, we already talked about Tillman, so he's a start because of the volume. I don't love Ridley, but I feel like I'm going to go with Ridley on this one. Again, I think Chicago's just going to come out. They're going to have that overcorrection. We see it most of the time when somebody gets fired. The team's shaken up. So, if I'm already down on Jordan Love, I think I'm gonna knock down Jayden Reed with him, and I'm gonna go with Ridley. It's just, again, a sheer volume play.
All right, Ridley and Tillman. Justin, how about you?
Yeah, very easily same answer. I mean, if I'm fading Jordan Love, I'm definitely fading Jayden Reed. He's also just not playing as many snaps as these two guys. I know Cedric Tillman just doing it after a few weeks here, but the way that they're splitting up the receiver snaps, Reed's not even playing like wide receiver 1 snaps, right? They're just very interchangeable. It does keep them fresh, but it does lower the mathematical upside in all technicality. But the situations are just better for those two guys. Ridley's in an offense that wants to focus on getting him the ball downfield early and often, because if they don't, they're probably just not going to like how the locker room feels afterwards, because he just won't shut up about it whenever he doesn't get the ball, like on the first couple of plays. Cedric Tillman's in a good situation just because there's no one left there, obviously, and Winston just still loves to fling the ball around. Getting the Saints, no Marshawn Lattimore. The defense is, wheels off. I know they played a little bit better last week, overcorrection to a coach firing, but still wouldn't trust their defense like Cedric Tillman a lot in this one. Sneaky pick to find 2 touchdowns this week.
All right, Joe, are you sitting Jayden Reed too?
Oh, man. Early rankings and projections lean towards starting Reed and Ridley. This is going to be one where I'm going to have to look at a little more, because my gut kind of does roll with starting Tillman. Now I do all my rankings and my start sit on this show from a half PPR standpoint. So keep that in mind when I'm making my decisions. Tillman and PPR, I think, leapfrogs, Jayden Reed. Jayden Reed gets a bump down because he just doesn't see the volume. But, right now, that's the way I go. I don't feel great about it. I like how Tillman's been going, and you're right. That matchup is tasty. Like you're looking at like numbers, like New Orleans against the number one receiver, and like they're one of the best, but they don't have their corner that was shutting down number one receivers anymore. So it's a totally different story. Chicago's kind of middle of the road against number one receivers, but Justin, you hit it right on the head. Like it's whoever, like they just mix them around. It's any it's going to be a different receiver every single week. Funny Chad's over here talking how he traded for Dobbs and he is having trouble pulling the trigger, starting him over Vele and Pop Douglas.
Vele?
Now, I don't know if I'm going that far. I think easily starts over Vele.
I feel like if anything, like the Dobbs and like Watson start, they're probably actually okay this week because Reed probably gets a lot of priority. I think Tucker Kraft is kind of like in the middle of that. I don't think you're comfortable starting him in this matchup either, but I feel like the top guys get a lot of the attention. I like Jacobs. Yeah,
I will say this, Reed, this is like the lowest I have ranked Reed all season long. So, I mean, maybe that's telling you should sit him. But as of right now, his projections and everything are pointing to start Reed and Ridley. But come back on Sunday and find out how they end up. I'm sorry for the answer or non-answer.
It's a good thing you're here on Sunday. I'll make sure to have Dylan ask about Jayden Reed.
All right.
So, Justin, you get our next one here. You got CeeDee Lamb versus the Texans, Jauan Jennings versus the Seahawks, and Tank Dell versus the Cowboys. Fight.
I guess Tank Dell and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, Jauan Jennings is cool. I think he's actually questionable now. But I
banged up.
Just the overall roles for Dell and Lamb, I think you're just going to trust it in this situation. Like if I'm looking at it, last man out here for one of my rosters, I think the questionable call too definitely, goes against any potential tie with Tank Dell with Nico Collins coming back. But with how Dell has been playing without him there, I would assume also that Collins' presence on the field, being able to take away a little bit more attention in his first game back, also helps Tank Dell out a lot. So this is an easy one for me. Give me Lamb and Tank Dell here.
Joe?
So, just I was going to ask you, like, so say Jennings is healthy and he's full go, and Nico's back. That doesn't change your decision?
No. Again, Nico coming back, I don't know if he's going to be at 100%. If he's going to get his full nut, then that definitely does not help out Tank Dell. But we also have Stephon Diggs still gone, and we saw how that combination was able to thrive last season. If anything, the offense looked better when it was just those two, at least for like fantasy-wise, because obviously when Diggs was still there and Collins was healthy too, you saw Tank Dell, get shadow realmed. Like he was just not what he was not delivering on ADP expectation for like preseason. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like this is someone who was going at the same ADP as Josh Allen, and he was getting like 3 or 4 targets a game with nothing to show for it. So I think with him and Collins there, they can both, again, thrive like they did last year.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I'm sitting Dell. I want to see him perform with another stud receiver on the field with him this year. He hasn't done it yet. Mm-hmm. He really struggled, obviously, with Nico and Stephon Diggs there. And that game with Stephon Diggs, even though he got hurt late, Dell didn't really do a whole lot. So I need to see him do it. Jennings is Purdy likes him a lot. And, I guess the one thing that you would say also going against Jennings is this is now CMC's second game back. So he's going to get more involved. So that's less work for the downfield receivers. It's really close between Jennings and Dell, assuming both are healthy and Nico is back. But assuming that is the case, I would be sitting Tank Dell.
AJ.
So I guess the real question here is Jura going to close the curtains this week? Because I mean that might make Lamb not worth anything. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm leaning Lamb, obviously.
Maybe they should stop playing the late afternoon games there.
Yeah, good luck in that happening.
Yeah, right.
Stop talking about the sun.
Fox can't have Dallas on the late afternoon spot. What would they do? Gosh, they might have to show somebody else.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of random. Sorry.
Jennings has had like a handful of decent games. The one blow-up game, obviously, against the Rams back in week 3. He's also missed a couple of games. I don't know. He's just not consistent enough for me. I do like Dell. I think with Nico coming back, it only strengthens Dell's case. Assuming health, I'm gonna go with him and Lamb, and I am gonna jump up and
your dogs agree.
Yes. All right. I'll be right back.
Or disagree. I don't know what that whimper means.
Yeah.
All right. Go do your thing, man. All right. Next up.
All right. Next question here. And Joe, you can start off. Khalil Shakir versus the Chiefs. Darnell Mooney versus the Broncos. And Jakobi Meyers versus the Dolphins. Who you starting? Who you sitting?
Yeah. So this one might get decided for you because Mooney did hit the injury report today. I know you made these yesterday, so no knock on you for that. But even without that, I am leaning sitting Mooney. Denver's a very tough defense, man. Like it's rough. Anybody going against them. Kansas City's, really good too. These are all pretty tough matchups, honestly. But Shakir kind of being the only target there possibly this week that Josh Allen's gonna trust at all. I heard rumors maybe Cooper was practicing. I haven't followed up on that, but I feel like he's probably still out. I don't know. And then we know Meyers is the only guy. So, Mooney's looking at Drake London ahead of him, looking at Bijan ahead of him. Kyle Pitts isn't ahead of him, but is still another weapon to worry about. Khalil Shakir is literally the wide receiver 1 for that team without any of those guys. Mm-hmm. Not that it's amounted to much, but hey, especially in a PPR, you're loving that.
If Mooney wasn't questionable, I still think he would be a clear start because he's just a reliable piece of that offense. They use him like a reliable 2. So if he was healthy, I would put him over Shakir. But the injuries with Buffalo are also very interesting for Khalil Shakir's position this week. So Kincaid also not practicing, Cooper banged up, missing Coleman. When you're looking at just Khalil Shakir, Mac Hollins, James Cook, who it's not a good matchup for any running back up against the Chiefs right now. It could be a very big week for Shakir, or he could dud. I still expect him to have at least 6 targets. So I think he's a good option here. Again, if Mooney was healthy, he would be the pick over him. Myers just gets hit up early and often. And despite whatever the offense has looked like for the Raiders, this is someone who has averaged at least 10 fantasy points per game in half-point PPR through the last 3 seasons. And now he's at a higher rate this year, now that he's left alone on an island after Devontae Adams left and none of the other guys just happened. Trey Tucker just didn't happen. Dylan Lobb just didn't happen. Zamir White just didn't happen. And now we're just middled between, Brock Bowers and Jakobi. So yeah, I think he's an easier start in this mix, but not maybe an easy start like overall in fantasy, Jakobi Meyers.
So, I wrote that usage article on the Fantasy 6-Pack where I kind of go through all the usage for the past week and sort of try to notice trends and things like that. Something I absolutely noticed right away with the Bills is their passing offense earlier in the year was not great. I mean, they were still scoring points, but
It was efficient.
anytime they were
booming, yeah.
Yeah, anytime they got down there, they just ran it in with Cook or Allen took it, that kind of thing. So their receivers weren't really doing anything. They brought in Amari Cooper, and even though he wasn't on the field a ton, the passing offense just drastically changed, and everybody got good.
Mhm.
Now Shakir was reliable enough because you're right. He catches 6 targets
Mhm.
every single game. And he literally does. He catches every single one of them. There was some crazy stat where it's like he had like a 94% catch rate, and like the next closest person was like 84%.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's crazy how much he catches everything that goes his way. And of course, that's a lot of the routes he runs too. But
they draw him up, like they set him up for some success. And I think with what they have left. Coleman's missing. He was starting to come on a little bit. I felt like the start of the season, he wasn't there yet. He wasn't at like BTJ levels necessarily with like the confidence in the playbook, the routes, overall play calling in general. Maybe it was even conditioning. I don't know. But I felt like he was coming along before the injury. So the situation there, I think it can set up a good situation for Shakir, but also that defense is going to be hyper focused on him because I think they're okay letting you win or beat them with Matt Collins. I think they're okay with letting you win or beat them with Dawson Knox.
That's kind of where I was going with it, is that like they weren't like the passing offense wasn't good with before Cooper. Now Shakir is going to catch his 6 targets, but it may not be for anything. Now I still have Shakir ranked higher than the other two, but I don't feel great about it. And the projections say otherwise, so maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe I'm overthinking it. AJ, you got a thought on this?
Yeah, AJ.
Yeah.
You ready?
I mean, I'm looking at, and obviously I have zero idea what really you guys said. I mean, I heard a little bit of the last stuff there, but Justin, I apologize for missing your analysis here.
It's all right.
I mean, these are all really bad matchups for these guys. I mean, the defenses they're going against are very good against receivers, so that worries me in general. But Meyers is the only wide receiver 1, so I think I'm gonna have to go with him. I mean, he's been pretty consistent this year. A couple of down games, but overall, he's put up good numbers. He's only found the end zone a couple times, but that's like his MO. I mean, he barely found the end zone. I think maybe once, maybe twice in New England when he was playing with them. So hopefully he can fall in the end zone this week. I'm going to go with Meyers. And Mooney was questionable.
Yeah, with an Achilles.
Yeah, so that worries me. But you mentioned the Dawson Knox scenario, so obviously Coleman's out. Cooper's still questionable. I mean, this kind of sets up for Shakir to be the wide receiver 1.
Kincaid also not looking good.
Yeah, Kincaid's also questionable too. I think I'm going to go Shakir.
There.
If you want a quick laugh, the Eagles just scored on a Philly push, and Jake Elliott missed the PAT.
God
Just saw that. Suck. By the way, does Gainwell think he's playing the Giants? He got them down here. What's going on?
Well,
you know exactly what I mean, AJ.
It's Boston Scott that you're thinking.
Oh, that's sorry, wrong guy. You know,
but I appreciate the almost hashtag
the backup running back for the Eagles, sticking it to another team in the NFC East. So, all right. Did you give your answer? We need to move on.
Yeah, Shakir and Meyers.
All right,
move on. What we got?
All right. We're moving on here.
On this.
Yep. Tight ends here. Honestly, I lost track of who I asked. So, Joe, TJ Hockenson against the Titans.
Me, but that's cool.
Mark
fine.
Andrews
That's
versus Steelers. You had enough time after AJ's rant.
Sure. Man, I'll go. I'll go Mark Andrews. Hawk looked good last week. Got a lot of targets. But dude, Andrews is he's finding the end zone. It seems to be kind of figuring it out again. So, keep riding it. Let's see what happens. There's enough other weapons there in Minnesota that, I'll take Andrews here against Pittsburgh. That Pittsburgh's kind of middle of the road against tight ends here. I'm trying to figure out Tennessee. They're
pretty good, I think.
They're kind of in the same category. It's like, they're both pretty much the same, both kind of middle of the road here. So, I'll take keep riding the hot hand with Mark Andrews. He's back.
All right. Justin, how about you?
I'll go TJ Hockenson. TJ Hockenson back. He's back. Getting 9 targets last week. I think this is really close. I'll go TJ. I'll go
back to back in my rankings
because the Vikings offense is a little bit more pass oriented. And I think the Titans defense has been good this year. I just don't think it's as good as the stats and as advertised, essentially. So I think that the Vikings can still be good for like DFS, overall fantasy starts. I think they're still a much better favorite in this game. Again, with how close it is, I'm just going to go to the style and scheme of the Vikings. They're going to pass the ball more than the Ravens will this week. Or we're just going to want to win a game, whether it be ugly or pretty, up against a division rival in the Steelers.
AJ?
Right.
So you mentioned 9 for Hockenson with the 9 targets. He is averaged 9 yards even per reception both weeks here. 3 for 27 back in week 9, 8 for 72 last week. So 9 seems to be this crazy number for him. But I think I'm leaning Andrews. I'm happy to see Hawk back. I do agree that Minnesota is going to be a little more pass heavy, but Andrews has been, left for dead and then now resurrected and finally playing the way that he was drafted.
My Scott Fishbowl team is thanking him.
Yes.
Finally,
Likely
coming back alive.
Mine is
Yes, that's helping.
That's
Sure.
that's the huge part, I think, is
Yes.
Likely not playing anymore.
Well, and I was looking at DVOA as far as the tight end kind of things, but if you're looking at pure points per game, the Titans are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th best, and Pittsburgh is kind of right in the middle.
16th.
I've said this before, like tight ends points per game is very wonky to look at. It really depends on who you play.
Unless you're playing the Ravens or the Chiefs, you don't have a plus matchup. It's just Fugazi.
Yeah.
Those two teams in particular are terrible up against the tight end.
Yeah. But either way, it depends on who you're playing too. You could play a bunch of teams who don't really feature the tight end, don't have good passing edge tight ends, and you're just not allowing points. And so it may look like you're good against tight ends, but if you play against Travis Kelce, you're gonna get smoked either way. So it doesn't matter, right? So
not if you played him through the first couple of weeks.
True, very true. Try to forget those weeks. I was big on Travis Kelce's going to go back to what tight end 1 this year, and it was not looking so good through the first 4 weeks, man.
Swift effect,
bad.
Down bad.
Yes. Now they're playing nice again, so
I think Hopkins is helping too.
Maybe all the injuries now Mahomes not having anybody else to throw to helps. Sure. So all right. So we're going to move on to the next one, and you're not going to start with me, Mike.
You're right. I'm not going to.
Because I don't want to answer this one.
I was gonna start with Justin on this one because it's a curveball.
It's easier than you think. I think you go Raheem Mostert.
It is.
You just play the matchup. The Raiders are terrible against the run. 7th best matchups to target for running backs in fantasy this season. Mostert could easily find 2 touchdowns. I don't know if Jaylen Waddle will find 2 touchdowns the rest of the season.
The only thing that works in Waddle's favor is with Hill questionable, but
he was questionable all last week.
Exactly.
I mean, what is it the same wrist thing?
I was just gonna say, yeah, didn't really stop him from last week. Yeah, this one's
from his deep 1-yard touchdown downfield. Oh boy, had me all hot and bothered. That 1-yard TD from Tyreek Hill.
Oh my gosh, and that's what got me in our crab cake league. That touchdown, and then the fact that Stafford missed a wide open Kyron Williams to walk into the end zone to end the game.
That was a terrible game.
I was like, oh my god, I was so pissed. I lost by 4 points. Either one of those plays.
The 2 prior weeks,
opposite direction.
Talking up to Miami secondary about how great they are, and they completely just shit the bed. And then last week, they just decided to show up again against the Rams. Is absolutely insane.
It's like, I guess we can play again.
Yeah.
5 weeks over, right?
Yeah, it only took a cross-country flight over to LA.
Yeah. It's like, I'm tired of hurricanes. We want some earthquakes in our life.
Got some In-N-Out burger. We got right.
That's all it took.
That's some good stuff, man. Dude, I'm opposite of you guys. I'm going Waddle. I don't like either one of these guys.
Yeah.
But is anybody not worried about the fact that Raheem Mostert didn't log a carry last week? And he only saw 2 carries or 2 targets?
Yeah. No, we need more.
Okay. I mean, I agree with you, but what the hell happened? I don't know.
You save the Porsche for prom, not the Sadie Hawkins dance, okay? Devon Achane can, he can give up a handful of carries this week. It's a lighter matchup.
So this, I
don't know. But Jaylen Wright got 5 carries. Why was he getting carries? Malik Washington got a carry.
Well, that's
what the hell happened?
Sorry, I had to celebrate that.
Somebody explain this to me. This is where I'm like, how do you trust that? I know Waddle's not seeing much, but
what do you have last week? 2 for 55? Did he get
3 for 57? Hey,
okay, so you got the third one for 2. Okay, so I missed that one. I saw that he had 2 for.
Oh my gosh, Daniels, get there! Oh my gosh,
he does not. Did either of you guys happen to catch? I don't remember where the article was, or if it was a tweet or something, but it was talking about Etienne wearing the helmet thing.
Yeah.
And he was like, yes. Well, they're like, well, why are you deciding to wear that? And he's like, well, because according to my quarterback, my name is Tanner. And I don't know why. As many times as I tell him my name is not Tanner, that's what it ends up being. So I'm wearing this.
Holy shit.
To protect myself because
I don't want to be.
I'm
not sure he is.
What's that?
I wish it was something. Tanner is so. I wish it was like Kyle.
Well, is he kidding?
Kyle, man.
Well, no, it gets better. He's like, so I'm just trying to protect myself, and I hope Tua does the same. Yes. Otherwise, next week I'll be known as Preston or something like that.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! This is crazy. I hope that's a joke.
I know, me too. That's sad. I know. I'm sad.
It was.
We're laughing at it, but
he was serious because he was like, "Yeah, he could be one more hit away from me being Preston."
Tanner Preston, I like that. It's a good name too.
Or drinking out of a straw for the rest of his life. Oh my god! Stop being an idiot.
I love it. I don't know why more people aren't wearing this thing.
It actually doesn't even look that bad. I saw it in the game, and then
the head, the worse.
I had to kind of do a double check and was like, "Wait, he's got that weird thing on. Oh, it actually isn't that weird."
Here's the thing though: is there's literally bigger helmets for people, right? Because there are bigger humans out there, so they make the helmet for the player. So some of those dudes wearing it, on the offensive or defensive line, they're gonna look like clowns, dude. It's not gonna look pretty.
Yeah, true.
But I can totally get away with it.
Yeah.
All right.
Justice Hill, no problem. All day.
All right. So that's it for our start sit portion of the show. Next, we're going to be jumping into we call it the weekly observations. It's really kind of whatever we feel like talking about. So weekly observations, stuff you want to talk about, things that are pissing you off. AJ, don't talk about the Eagles.
Not pissing me off right now. Jake Elliott pissing me off, but
whatever you want to talk about.
Incoming Jake
stuff you found pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Justin, we'll let you go first, man. What's on your mind when it comes to the NFL, fantasy football, betting, whatever it is that you do?
So I've brought up a few trends. Earlier we were talking about Eckler, talking about DeAndre Swift receiving yards. Another couple that come to my name for this week, Kareem Hunt going up against the Buffalo Bills, allowing the most receiving yards to running backs this year. Definitely want to target him for either a longest reception and or total receiving yards. I don't think you go after the total amount of catches, but those would be the numbers I would be looking at. And then George Pickens continues to get just that slight disrespect, getting a great matchup this week with the Ravens, who have just been dog dirt bad in the secondary. We were talking about how they're very good up front, stopping the run. That's a trend to target, taking the under on the longest rushing attempt for a starting running back against the Ravens. But likewise, Pickens, Freiermuth, love those guys this week. I mean, that's what I'm doing week in and week out is, I'm targeting the worst of the worst in the NFL, the bottom of the league, whether it be for rushing, receiving, whatever I can, and trying to get some value and some legs up on those trends, whether people are moving up or moving down the boards.
Good stuff, man. AJ, what you got, man?
So I'm going to kind of be a little late on the uptick to this one, but only because I just now looked at it. And that's Tyrone Tracy and how he's just completely taken over this running game in New York. Hashtag suck it, Keith. I don't know who's putting the question mark on the screen there.
I mean, the Giants are no good, at least, but yeah, he's been really good.
I mean, Singletary was like the sneaky play in a lot of drafts. He was the late target, the darling for zero running back. To be able to get somebody who was going to have volume. And Tracy was more of kind of a dart throw handcuff in the beginning of the year. No, not anymore. He is, way, way better. I mean, it shows just like the sheer volume that he's getting now compared to what Singletary is getting is crazy. And yes, Joe, I realize you probably talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Totally did.
But
I wasn't going to call you out publicly. I put it in the private chat. Okay, call yourself.
That's fine. I'll call myself out. It's called accountability, son. So,
all right.
It wasn't something. I know we talked about it. Clearly, it went in one ear and out the other because it's the Giants, and Giants suck. But this is definitely something to monitor for the rest of the year. If you were lucky enough to get Tracy when Singletary went down with the injury, that's basically.
Are they on bye this week?
That was it. Yeah, they are. They are. This week.
They are.
And we're saying Dan Jones isn't coming back, right? Italian time, or what do we think?
I don't know.
We playing Mario Kart, or we?
Do we still have that guy with the crazy agent?
Yeah. Tommy DeVito.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Italian, yeah.
Oh my God!
I have no idea who
I forgot about that guy. That was something else.
I would assume it would be Drew Lock because they brought him in.
Yes.
But, beats me.
I would. Maybe he'll get the first crack at least.
He made one.
Not then DeVito's back on with
Cheers to Tracy though. I hit the anytime touchdown last week, but
nice.
Again, following the trends. Panthers allow the most rushing touchdowns. It's easy math.
Yep.
Awesome. So Joe, what's your one of two things?
So I talked about Denver last week, right? And the fact that we kind of were seeing a shift, to where Estime was getting a bit more work. Williams was losing work, and it was like, oh no, like what's going to happen here? Are we getting into like true committee territory? And then they were talking like Sean Payton was talking about how Audric Estime was going to get more work. Well, that one we saw completely flipped. So I ended up being way more right than I thought I was going to be. I did not expect it to be that good of a call. I'm going to go to Arizona Cardinals and another trend I'm seeing here. And I've got absolutely roasted on Reddit when I posted this as like the headline. I share like a little preview of my usage article on Reddit every week. And I headlined with the Arizona Cardinals and that Trey Benson's getting more involved. I got absolutely roasted that, oh, he's only getting work, in the blowout games. And it's like, I mean, yes, but he's also not getting work just when it's a blowout. He's getting work in the second quarter, the third. Like, it's mostly all Connor early, and then like they start mixing in Benson. Now, when it is a tie ball game, it's all Connor. But if they have any sort of lead, Benson's getting in the mix and actually getting like, I think 50-50, if not slightly more work than Connor when they have a lead. Like, they are clearly trying to reduce the workload of Connor because this is a team that has playoff aspirations. And if they want to make any noise in the playoffs, they're going to need Connor healthy. And what has Connor done almost every year of his career, if not every year of his career? Gotten injured. So they know this, and they've got to keep him healthy. Look, Benson's not taking over. He's not going to pull at Estime, and all of a sudden it's like boom, like because Connor's performing. So that's silly talk. That I'm not even going there with that. But Benson's a guy who I think you want to pick up in the back end of your bench, just in case, right? It is what I call start warming up for the playoff season. It is handcuff season, everybody. Like, go get those guys. Like, I don't really like handcuffing the whole season. I hate it because it really, I think, hinders your roster, and the flexibility you have with guys. In the playoffs, it doesn't matter. You're starting your studs, but if your stud goes down, especially the running back, you want the backup. You don't want to be fighting everybody else in your league for him. Just have the guys ready in reserve. So if you've got Connor, go get Benson. And if you don't have Connor, go get Benson, because if Connor goes down, you're the guy who has Connor is going to be going to the waiver wire looking for him and go, crap. So, and he's getting enough work. He got 10 carries to 12 for Connor last week. The week before, Benson saw 8 carries. He's getting more and more and more work. I really could see this turning into a 60-40 split down the stretch of the season here, where, and I said it, and this was another thing I got absolutely roasted for was interception. Yes, thank you.
I just love this section of the pod because every 5 seconds just
I think
rookie wall.
Son of a.
I also think Daniels is hurt and he probably shouldn't be playing.
Oh,
he's playing like crap, dude.
He shouldn't have been playing in the Bears game, for crying out loud.
No.
Stop it.
But anyway, so like I also kind of I'm one who could think like maybe you trade Connor, sell high on him because his value could dip just slightly, where you're still going to get a really good player, even if you just make like an even trade for him right now. In a week or two, you're gonna win that because Connor's production and touches is going to drop, just because they're trying to keep him healthy for the playoffs. I don't know what I'm seeing. Like, I could be totally wrong. This usage article is meant to just kind of like see things and make kind of some judgment calls here before it happens, because you don't want to be left waiting for it to actually happen like the rest of your league. So that's kind of what I use this article for, and this is something that I'm really noticing. So,
love it.
Justin, got anything else?
No. Those I tipped a few trends throughout the show, and then those last ones to add there.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. AJ, you got anything else?
Last thing I'll mention is, and again, we sort of, I guess you could say, saw in air quotes this last week in the Baltimore Cincy game, the disappearing act known as Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, he
not his fault.
No, I know it's not his fault, but 1 for 6, 2 targets.
Barely any snap. Like when he's getting out,
how many snaps do you
trying
have?
to get him the ball. It's just not working. It doesn't work.
What's that? What is snaps? What is his snap percentage? Is that what you said?
Do you know how many snaps he got last week? Not very many. You can count on 2 hands.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot. But yeah, I just I'm hoping that there was a plan for Baltimore to actually trade for him. It was 8%.
Yes,
sleeper. So
I think it was 8. I think it was 8 snaps, or maybe 9. It wasn't still either way. It was bad.
Yeah. So he had 30% the week before that against Denver, but
he did. So he went backwards somehow.
Yeah,
in a shootout. Nonetheless,
he didn't even have a target or anything in that game. Mm-hmm. So he was just like a decoy, just running around. We know that this is a run first team. We get it, but you don't go out and trade for somebody to bolster your receiving core. With his talent. When you're looking at, obviously Zay Flowers is your number one, but then Bateman, Tylan Wallace
has stepped up and actually
Bateman has
really
stepped
well.
up. And he's been playing well
too.
Tylan Wallace had that huge play last week, the long touchdown, but that's it. So Aguilar.
Yeah, Tylan Wallace now. That's
those are all lottery tickets. Wallace, Aguilar.
They're
just like kind of whatever, but
they're there. They're taking up snaps.
Yeah. So
the problem is, I think, is that they don't need him because it is such a run-heavy team, and the few passes. Jesus.
That's why I stopped talking. I was just waiting for it. And I missed the play because I was talking. So I just kind of caught the end of it. Oh, there it is. Beautiful. This only helps my Eliminator team continue to dominate.
Guys, you've been riding Derrick Henry and Saquon all year because the rest of your team has been hurt. Or
that's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Both my quarterbacks.
Oh, that's not cool, though. Come on, Saquon. Come on. Need some help.
So, I don't know. Were you done, AJ? I don't know if you...
Yeah. That's basically it. I'm just waiting to see him, get some actual attempts. Yay, it's good. Great job, Elliot. Bird.
Oh, man, this was a bad fourth quarter. Oof.
Isn't Devonta Smith's birthday today?
It is.
We couldn't give him 50 receiving yards. Killing me.
He didn't do anything.
He got jacked on that. His last catch. I don't know if he's out of the game now, but
oh, did he? I didn't. I've been watching.
It was like a terrible fish hook helmet pull, and then he got hit. The guy came in and just slapped his helmet. It's like, Jesus, come on.
Yeah, I had the Eagles 2.5, Jayden under 2 passing, and then Devonta Smith alt at 50 passed here.
That sucks. So I kind of like bullet point things here, and not a lot of super big analysis on this, but just kind of things that caught my eye. For those of you that wasted fab or high waiver claims on Marquez Valdez-Scantling, best of luck to you. That is not going to work. We have seen this movie before, and he does this, and then he vanishes off to the sunset. He just rides it off in waves, or he drops a pass along the way because that's what he's good at. It's not good, guys. The DeAndre Hopkins, I think we kind of mentioned this earlier. The usage we saw and the performance we saw from 2 weeks ago, that is likely his best game of the season. So I hope he sold high. I know some people did. He's going to be useful, but he's not going to be that useful. Again, this team just does not want to do they don't want to get in these high shootout games. I think they almost realize they don't have the offense to do it. And so they kind of slow the game down too. I was gonna mention Deontay Johnson, but that's cool. I'm glad you brought it up. Jameson Williams came back from his suspension and had the third most targets of the season for him. So
And
that's
Laporta's
actually,
banged up.
yeah. So
This week at least.
yeah. Now again, that was a game where all of a sudden Goff had to pass the ball a ton, and that's not their game. So I wouldn't count on that. But at least they kind of just went right back to him. That is great to see there. One other weird one, and then this is the last thing. The Patriots, Kendrick Bourne was trending way up, like arrow pointing straight up every single week. Not that it was like to the point where you were like, oh yeah, I could start him in my roster, but like kind of a bench stash. Like you never know what could happen, right? He was really good last year before the injury happened. Came back just methodically getting more and more and more snaps. And then last week they just vanished. Like he ran 41 routes 2 weeks ago. Ran 0 last week. This is like almost Raheem Mostert-esque. Like what happened? That make it make sense. It doesn't. So I'm not telling you to keep Kendrick Bourne, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just like start getting him more involved again. Either that or they just realize like he's not our future and they're just going to play all the young guys. I don't know. But I feel like Kendrick Bourne's pretty good. He's better than a lot of the guys on that team. So why not use him? He can help your young quarterback actually start feeling confident more. So that's my takes on that. So Jamie just hit just got a couple bucks on that Barkley 3+ touchdowns at plus 1,100. Only one more needed. Yeah, I don't think you're getting that now. You're not getting one more. I think they're unless he just like breaks it off and just gets a third one just to rub it in, which wouldn't surprise me. Nice. I don't think you're getting that, but all right. Well, that is it for the show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, leave those reviews. Follow us wherever you are listening. If you are listening to us on a Spotify or Apple or iHeartRadio, whatever it is, I don't know. There's like 3 million different audio places. I don't know them all, but thank you, Justin, for jumping in tonight and joining us. It's always great to talk to you. And before we let you go, let everybody know where they can find you and what you got going on the rest of this season.
Yep. Appreciate you guys having me by. Ask me anytime. I'd love having some starter sit conversations, mostly focusing on DFS and sports betting overall this season. So I have Wednesday and Thursday night shows on the Fanspeak Network and on YouTube. And you can find me on Twitter at BestBallBruni. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, man.
Good stuff, man. And see you in the Crab Cake League. See you, man.
Take care.
All right. So, yep. Again, that's it for the show tonight. And we will be back, I believe, next Thursday with Elijah Tversky from USA Today, just over top of me by one spot this week in the Fantasy Pros accuracy rankings. He's number 3, I'm number 4. So maybe next week I'll be back above him. I don't know. It's a super tight race. Like the amount of points between like the whole top 10 is like 25 points between all 10 of us. It is crazy. It's gonna shuffle all year long. All the rest of the year, Daniels is hurt, man. He can't get anything behind these throws. It's bad. He makes those throws. Like he's missing these throws or going at people's feet. He just can't get anything through it. It's rough to see. They just gotta sit him for a couple games. I know they're trying to get in the playoffs, but this kid did it with RG3. Don't do it with him. I know it's Reb's different, but God, don't ruin the kid, please. So good. Okay. All right. That's it for the show. See y'all next week. Good luck in week 11.